video, which I'm not sure if you were or not. The manager came out and told me the lobby is closed and they can't have me leaving my stuff in there alone for that long. I've said that in a lot of videos and a lot of Starbucks. I already know that really that's something that's frowned upon, and like today they got to close the lobby. If they got to close the lobby especially quickly, let's say there's well, obviously it's not they're not closing everything down because of terrorism or anything like that, but if there was a situation like that, like, yeah, they'd want to lock down immediately. But obviously these policies are not for that extreme of a situation. There's situations that they happen every day. It's just the fact of life. And like I said, I can't be abandoning my stuff in Starbucks for that long. I can't be abandoning my stuff in there for that long. It also increases its chance of getting stolen. The people who work at Starbucks, it's not their responsibility to watch my shit. Although if you at every Starbucks, there's people who work there, and they tell me, you know, if you want to go outside and walk across the street and have a cigarette, I'll watch your stuff. They're really not supposed to, but they tell me they will, and that's nice of them. Now, of course, at this Starbucks, these people, just like at all of them, you know, most of the people are absolutely fabulous. Here, the ones that are not absolutely fabulous might still be absolutely fabulous. They just started working and I don't know yet. But generally, yeah, we're probably going to work out all right. The safe place policy is for people, not things. So my evidence doesn't actually fall under the safe place policy. Now I would show you the line. Shit, I can show you the line that's behind me. So backing out. Backing out, probably not right now. It'll probably be a few minutes. When this rush is over, then I'll go. Oh, those folks are from Texas. That just happens to be one of the places I got a call today. I also got to make sure that it's recorded. If they don't do anything after I make the call, and if it turns out that Ted Bollinger had lured an underage girl to Texas, and she ends up dead, well, I got a fucking conscience. Could you guys have that on your conscience? When you say you need to mind your business, let me tell you about a Dr. Caroline, all right? Dr. Caroline, her saying is, and mind your business. She says that at the end of every one of her shows, and mind your business. It's funny that her whole show is about other people's business. We got to do better. I hear that so much. We got to do better. You're absolutely right. But how? I mean, why don't you be specific? Instead of saying lowering taxes where? Obviously, I'm not talking about lowering taxes. I'm just using that as an example. Like or as, if you will. So I knew that I was pressing my luck. I knew I was pushing it. Oh, coffee on my mustache. And they set very clear boundaries. I'm not sure if you noticed that. It's a very clear boundary that she set. And I don't have any problems with following that boundary. I got my computer and stuff. And of course, every time that I come out to my vehicle from now on, I'm gonna have to grab up all of my stuff and pick it up and bring it out, and then take it back in, unpack it, plug it in. That's gonna make it a lot more complicated to make phone calls. Now, is this lady a horrible person for doing that? No. Oh, hell no. These people are great. She set a clear boundary. She's allowed to do that. I'm not. I mean, because of the mentally ill tag, I'm not. Not that I'm not allowed to set very clear boundaries here. If I set boundaries, I actually have, pretty reasonable boundaries, and these people are reasonable people. I don't think they'd have any problems with it. Like, if I was to say I don't like being touched, I don't think that they would try touching me every 5 minutes. That's where a lot of these people, they get antagonistic and turn into assholes, and then when I'm an asshole back, they whine. That's the thing about Natalie and her friends. They were assholes to me. Because Natalie got busted with heroin by her fucking mom on my birthday. Me and Natalie didn't even want to go to Elliot's Coffee Grounds. We were pressured to do that by Alicia Bollinger. Alicia wanted to go. I had a car just like this one. It was a black Honda Civic. Old piece of shit. Got it from Laura Nelson, and it had a pre-existing issue with the steering wheel. Wish I'd have known that. That issue could have gotten me killed on the interstate. It didn't. When it broke free on me, not once but twice. One of those times it was in Virginia, right outside of Natalie's mom's house, and I was so fucking out of it. I hadn't slept for days. I'd been having a non-stop panic attack from some really rude comments from Alicia right after my birthday. I mean, it was not expected. Plus, that phone that I had, it was so incredibly fucking busted. It was an HTC phone, and it had a blue border around it. Any of you who knew Natalie Bollinger, I know you guys hate me, but the fact is that if you're honest, you're actually going to help me to prove that Natalie may not have intentionally put these people up to it, but she did put them up to it. It wasn't just Natalie, though. I mean, the whole fucking goddamn family had to lie. Over and over again. And it resulted in abuse. It doesn't matter if I'm developmentally disabled or not. An assault is against the law, but because they want to pretend that I'm schizophrenic, which you guys got to hear, I recorded those conversations with my mental health care provider. She is licensed to diagnose schizophrenia. Guess what? She says I'm on the spectrum. She says I got PTSD. She says that my issues are situational, not chemical. See, there's a difference there. One of them you can fix with medications. A situational issue you cannot fix with medications. That's what all of these people who hate me, what they want to push on me. They want to push on me, I need to be in a facility, I need to be on drugs for the rest of my life, and then people want to accuse me of being on drugs as excuses for doing their shit. Meanwhile, I don't do drugs, I smoke pot. What would this person say? Rip Nat. Rest in peace, Natalie. So anyway, Speaking on the Starbucks, oh, there's still a car behind. Oh my God. Oh. Mercedes. So, I didn't get to charge up very much. I think I got 14% charge on one of my external batteries and 3% charge on the other one. And, well, actually, we can see that was the last time I looked at it, and that was before I came out for the last video. Since the lobby is closed and since I can't really use the internet outside due to the weather, I'm screwed. All right. %, and 3%. First thing I forget while I'm stressed out is names and numbers. The less stressed out I am, the better I'm going to remember those things. If you are intentionally sending me into a panic attack, you're doing wrong. You're doing really wrong. These police officers were able to, and obviously and blatantly, work across multiple jurisdictions and with other departments in order to prevent me from turning in their officers. Not just utilizing other departments, not just utilizing false allegations, not just filing false reports. These people knowingly, willingly, and maliciously committed heinous crimes against a developmentally disabled individual in order to try to frame that person for a crime he didn't commit. See, that's where the issue is. Natalie Bollinger and her friends wanted to victimize me, but they also wanted to get away with it. When I asked for help about abuse that was obviously going on, I was obviously blown off. None of these mandated reporters at that time, and in Nebraska, they're all mandated reporters, but what's their excuse? Oh, we can't do anything about other jurisdictions. Bullshit. You can ship a victim of your officers to another jurisdiction, to a hospital, lie to that hospital, and then leave. This is nationwide. These tactics need to stop. Victims need to have some recourse to defend themselves against this onslaught. These people are victimizing people that they assume to be too broke to have the money to do a goddamn thing. Too broke for a civil lawyer because they already know. Just like in Boulder, Colorado, how many of these is it now? 7 separate times. The Boulder Police Department found themselves free of wrongdoing, but they still had to pay out the ass to their victims, didn't they? $95,000 for Sammy Leon Lawrence IV. How much did I get? At least that much in debt. In addition to the literally millions of dollars that were spent in Colorado, because we're not talking about just the officers' wages and their time. We're also talking about transportation. We're talking about the facilities that they took me to and the expenses of those facilities. Meanwhile, what did Clearview do? Tibor Hatay, according to the news article that I read, he was killed in 2017. They already knew that Clearview had covered up a murder. They already knew this. Matter of fact, they covered up a murder And the same exact tactics that killed Tibor Hatay, they used on me. And all of these places, they got to control when the camera was on, when the camera was off, and with no audio, they get to sell whatever they want. Right? MRRM typed wow. This is the United States. I told you, the land of the free and the home of the brave. Our Constitution is a fucking farce. Your rights are based on income. Donald Trump got $1 million loan from his daddy, so he's more human than everyone else. Joe Blow down the street works 9 to 5, doesn't have to work overtime, but, well, he makes enough to live on with one job. That's great. He's got some rights. If he's under his own roof, that's in his name, he's got a whole lot more. But when you're the Joe Blow on the streets, the things that you're allowed to do in a house are illegal. It's illegal to pee outside. If you're a college student in Colorado and you get busted peeing on the side of a building, you get charged with urination in public. That's the charge. If you're a homeless person who gets caught doing exactly the same thing at 2 o'clock in the morning because you don't have access to a bathroom, there's always a bathroom nearby. You're a fucking idiot. Most places won't let you if you got a backpack. A lot of places won't let anybody now because of some people with backpacks. The guy that ended up getting the Shell station there all closed down as far as their bathroom goes. They just tell everybody their bathroom doesn't work. That guy was a college student who was doing heroin in their bathroom and fell asleep for like 6 hours. But you know what? I'm not going to pretend that it couldn't have just as easily been a homeless person. Matter of fact, it is more likely to be a homeless person because a CU student has probably got a dorm room. Alright, now I let it fog up in here, so starting up my vehicle, I'm going to have to let it warm up and turn on my heater too. I need help making these calls. I don't know who to ask. I'm afraid to ask people. A lot of people that I ask, you know, they're real sweet and real nice. You know, they smile when they tell me no. They're not mean or rude or inconsiderate about it. I gotta go here after work, or I gotta go there after work, because who else do I have to ask? Either the cops or the people at Starbucks. And I don't want to ask the people at Starbucks for anything. I don't want to burden them with anything. But also, what are the cops going to do? Obviously, I didn't get to do any of the things that I was needing to get done. I mean, this is stuff that's been ongoing for years. I fight hard to get an advocate, an actual advocate. And what do I end up with instead? I end up being stuck in extreme situations with alcoholics and with meth addicts and with drug dealers. And who is it that offered to help me, though? Alcoholics, meth addicts, drug dealers. That's right. They had their hearts in the right place, whereas the police had malicious intent from the start. Their demeanor and behavior since Natalie's death has shown that. Their continued slander against me, even knowing that evidence exists, they're not worried about it because nobody cares. They already got to railroad me in court. They also got to slander every one of these people who want to accuse me of slander for saying it. No. I defended you. I said the things that you did. But the cops are absolutely right. You didn't do anything. You did not help me and would not help me. Their reasoning is incorrect. The fact that you lied to me repeatedly and told me that you would. The one thing I needed was to get a court date so that I could show that fucking evidence. Both before and after Natalie's death. But of course, we got people like Dan Faber. You know, everybody's been burned by the cops, right? Yeah, he did type that. Well, he typed, we've all been burned by the cops, I believe. But I'm going to post up all of that. You're going to get to see the stuff with Marcia Estrada. She made it very vague. She typed, I reported. What did she report? Which crimes did she report? I want to know that. Out of all of the crimes that I sent her, which ones did she report? This is going to take about 5 minutes to warm up well enough to even turn on the heater, and then it'll be 5 minutes beyond that before I can actually safely see out the window. So I guess since my car is going, if I'm actually able to dig out my car plug-in, there's too much stuff here, obviously. I have to play Tetris. I'm getting very good at Tetris. If I need something in there, I gotta move everything from on top there to over here, one side or the other, depending on what I'm needing to get at, and this is inhumane. It's inhumane for them to have forced me into homelessness. To have assisted all of my predators in getting away with it by allowing slander and no evidence to show that that slander is true. But because a pretty girl said it, it must be, right? Because a pretty girl claimed that I was stalking her. Magically, all the evidence that shows that's bullshit doesn't exist. What the record shows, Detectives Peterson and Rogers not only knew and were aware, they got to see that message between me and Natalie. They got to see it with their own two eyes, not a screenshot of it, but literally on my email. I went straight to it and I let them read it. I let them know that right there, I told her I would retaliate if she didn't tell the truth. And I absolutely did. I did explain that to them. I explained to them that I had gotten a hold of her mother. Was it to threaten her mother's life? No. It was to let her mom know that I was still being fucking abused over shit I didn't do. I didn't even know if it was their mom or not. But shit might as well, right? Let me tell you about Natalie's brother, Gabriel. Gabriel's a grown-ass adult now. He's autistic. Roseanne Kelly knows enough about autism to know that she knew exactly what she was doing. Danica Gardner knew exactly what she was doing. Rochelle Shelley Campbell knew exactly what she was doing. Ted Bollinger, well, despite the fact that he's a sick fuck, he produces some wonderful kids. That's not saying they're well behaved. I don't fucking know. I know that Natalie and Alicia, well, obviously they were not that well behaved. But also, Natalie followed a trend in nursing. Did you guys know that? Doctors and nurses are actually at some of the highest risk for drug abuse. The highest risk of any profession, nurses especially. Now, I got a question. Natalie may have intended on doing good things, but I got to pose this question. Do you want a heroin addict sticking a needle in your arm? Probably, because they're going to be able to do it better than anybody else. They know exactly what it feels like. Some of them up to 5 times a day, they know what it feels like. The question is, do you want them? Do you want a heroin addicted nurse? Do you think that a nurse who is addicted to heroin is going to be able to keep focus on her job? No. Drug addicts are always thinking about where and how to get their drugs. Always. When I drank like a fish, but not what a fish drank. When I didn't have nothing to drink, even if I was drunk, I wanted a drink. And I was thinking about where to go get another drink. Larry and Doug's. That's right, Chapel, Nebraska. Larry and Doug's. If I give them the money for some booze of their own, they'll get me some. That's the way it was. It's different now. Oh, damn it. Spilled something. Pineapple juice. You see how difficult it is to even make these telephone calls when you're stuck in the position I'm in. Or when you're at other people's houses when they promise to help you, but then they're telling you you can't make your calls during the day because they're afraid that, well, like Shannon Alvarado, when I got there, she said that she didn't want me recording calls with the police during the day because her daughter was still awake and that she didn't want to have her daughter taken away because somebody assumed she was beating on her daughter. No. And yes, she's absolutely right that people probably would do that. But the fact is that no, Shannon's not going to hit her kids. Well, her daughter anyway. If her son was to hurt her daughter, I don't know, she might spank him. But I don't see how anybody would get away with making such an accusation. The whole time I was there, through her alcoholism, through her volatility, I didn't, not even once, see any physical aggression. No physical assaults at all. It was just verbal, and it was because she was drunk. Of course, a lot of people use that as an excuse. Oh, well, he was probably drunk. Does that make it okay for Ted Bollinger to beat on his daughters getting drunk? That was my dad, getting drunk and smacking me around. Well, he liked to punch me in the stomach. What he'd do is, well, he liked to see me in pain and see me gasping for air while he's giving me his rant. I don't get to speak, only he does. So, as soon as I catch my breath and I think I'm recovered, wham, here comes another one. Her family not only allowed Ted to get away with those things for years before Natalie was killed, these people helped him walk free again. They gave him access to many, many, many more victims. Because he is not locked up, he has access to all of your daughters, all of them. People will have sympathy for him, and his family will help him to relocate anywhere in the United States he chooses. He has already shown himself to be a menace to the public with multiple high-speed chases. One that I'm aware of and has been verified, and one that's a rumor. So we'll not bring up the rumors, right? The one that's not a rumor, he was not supposed to be out of the state of Colorado, and neither was Alicia Bollinger. So they went on a high-speed chase with 18 grams of methamphetamines through Oklahoma and Kansas on my birthday, 2019. Thank you. When you try to turn in cops, they got a lot of tools that they can use to prevent you from turning them in, and it's compounded further when they can call you mentally ill. Fuck the cops. Seriously, fuck the police. The police kill so many of us, and you see how even through all of these crimes committed against me, they say that there's only like 500 hate crimes against the homeless in the United States every year, although they don't consider it a hate crime. That's the government's numbers. Why is that? There have been over 500 hate crimes against me for being homeless. Not all this year. Well, maybe if you want to count the stuff on the internet. That's also hate crimes against the disabled, and that's quite popular too. Adolf Hitler did that. That's what shows that these people are fucking psychopaths. Adolf Hitler had doctors experiment on Jews and thought it was fine. You guys want to ignore the real nitty-gritty of the United States. You want to say how wrong it is that all of this shit's going on and generalize, but are you sharing the stories of the victims? That depends on popularity. If it's somebody who's a homeless, white, unattractive male, shit, you can say whatever you want about him. Ain't nobody can contest it in court, not even your own public pretender. Your own public pretenders will work against you, and they did 100% of the time. I gotta turn in all these people to all these different jurisdictions where I've tried, been blown off, ignored, and denied assistance. I am disabled. I am entitled to rights as a disabled person, and those rights were not only not observed by the courts or the police, they weren't observed by anyone. MRRM typed, "I love me booze." MRRM typed, "Jews fought in the German army in World War I." You're right, actually. The idea that, all right, so there was a swastika on the side of a airplane that flew over the hospital while Adolf Hitler was in the hospital recovering in World War I, apparently. God, what's the name of that book? It's not Mein Kampf. Mein Kampf is mostly Adolf Hitler's political views. If you have neo-Nazis in your area driving you nuts with their jargon, read Mein Kampf and go throw it in their faces. Just like when you got Jehovah's Witnesses that want to come to your door. I encourage you to read their entire book, know it better than them, and when they try to tell you it's a certain way, you tell them, that's not what it says. I love doing that. You are now reinterpreting the English language. Graham did that, and you know what? We had that argument about 4 separate things. And all 4 times he had to concede that I was right. Graham studied his Bible every single day. Guess who else studied his Bible every day? Unfortunately, with severe amounts of trauma, I don't remember a whole hell of a lot of it. Anyway, that airplane that flew over the hospital, it was part of Yasta 11. That is the or JG-11. That was the World War I combat wing that was run by Manfred von Richthofen, and then later on, Mr. Goering, who is, well, he was in a mental hospital for railing against the Jews prior to the war. That's right. Anti-Jewish propaganda is actually what he was arrested for. So, yeah, you guys are hearing a bunch of anti-hobo propaganda and a bunch of anti-disabled propaganda. You know what? These people who are called mentally ill, there's two things that they understand that you don't. Number one, it's wrong to bring kids into this world, especially now. Number two, it's because they're not going to be human beings. You train the humanity out of your children. You talk about humanity and then show them cowardice. And every generation gets a little more selfish, don't they? No, they don't. That's where the disconnection is. Your kids are not more selfish than you were. When you were that age, you were a fucking little tyrant bastard too. Now, there's certain stuff that we should probably do if we're going to pretend we got religion. I think the first one is to hope and pray that Ted Bollinger gets put away. The second one is to hope and pray that Alicia Bollinger never gets pregnant. Now, why is it that Ted Bollinger has so many children who are autistic? Well, it's probably not autism. There's this thing where a lot of stuff in the DSM-5 is very similar. Sometimes it's difficult to tell the difference between bipolar disorder and severe PTSD or complex PTSD. That would be post-traumatic stress disorder. I've had that since I was a kid, and obviously, Marcia Estrada verified that. That's the thing about having to put it on the internet, but nobody wants to look anyway. From time to time, I stop and I put a bunch of links in when I'm able to, but I'm not always able to. Sometimes I plan on it, but something else comes up. Life happens while you're busy making plans, right? Anyway, a lot of people used other folks that I know as part of their propaganda, part of their bullshit, and situations that they were never there for. Now, obviously, if you are the most victimized person in America, according to statistics, you're in all of the top groups except for one. You're in 4 of the top 5 groups. I'm not a child anymore, so I don't count as that one. But I'm in all the rest of them. Color does not even come in as a factor in the top 5 groups that are most abused in this country. So get that out of your head. Yes, the numbers and statistics do show that black people are obviously incarcerated at a higher rate. When they get paid out by the government, they get paid less money. What do you say if a black person is on trial, they get a black jury? I really do think that at this point, that's what needs to happen. When you say a jury of my peers, are you talking about people who are actually my peers? People who have lived through the experiences that I have? People with similar experiences? People with similar lives? Are you going to have victims of sexual assault on the jury? Because if not, how can they be my peers? Are you going to have victims of police brutality on the jury? Because if not, these are not my peers. The divide between black people and white people in this country does exist, and as a result, black people should have their own courts. It's obvious that having white people involved in that bias is still there. But, and this is a big but, I mean, we're not talking J-Lo, but we're talking a big fat Medina backside. BAM! Those numbers compared to white people are actually marginal when you consider the difference between the homeless and people in houses. Now, saying that number is marginal does not mean that it doesn't exist, and it doesn't mean that it's actually marginal, because it's not. There is a great divide. What I'm saying is that the divide is far greater for the homeless and the disabled. Let me give you Boulder County for an example. Boulder County, if you're a black person, if the black population was equal in size to the white population, a black man would have a 5-to-1 chance of being incarcerated over his white counterparts. Now, why is that? Well, that's mostly because Boulder police, although they will pamper the fuck out of somebody who they think might be a black athlete, or the alumni who's a black athlete, or the parent of a black athlete. We're talking athletics here, that's right. That's the department that matters. That's the one that, well, we won't get into those politics, will we? Try not to, anyway. So, of course, I'm jumping from one subject to the other, ain't I? Got a lot of anxiety. Now, of course, I took my meds, and, you know, that does help a little bit, but in most situations it don't. There's obviously a time limit, and I gotta remember there's a time limit on everything. All these people who were telling me that they were helping me, you know why I was angry with them? You guys want to pretend I'm a bad person for being angry. No, there's a time limit on it. And they thought if they just ignored it, it would go away. No, it didn't go away. And did I harass people after Natalie's death? Fuck yes. People who had committed horrible atrocities. Because as a disabled person, I was not allowed my rights to turn in any of my predators. I was blown off. And you guys get to see that, and you get to hear that. Now, obviously, there is legal recourse that these officers here in Hood River could take, but didn't, because they don't take the situation seriously. When they walked away smiling like it was a big fucking joke, it's because it is to them. Somebody who is called mentally ill, and yes, they already started spreading that slander. Well, yeah, they don't fucking matter to cops. Are you fucking kidding me? When the cops do something good, they have to set up a whole fucking press and media fucking thing for it. Like, alright, you guys have seen these videos. Every few years, they put them up. Right around Christmas time, where there's an officer, and he goes to this lady's house, and she's kind of poor. She lives in a really fucking nice house for a poor person, though. Anyway, so the officer gets there, and then it shows her. She's opening the door. She's got somebody with a professional camera behind her. As she opens the door and feigns surprise. How surprised is she really going to fucking be? She has a goddamn camera crew in her fucking living room. The cops literally have to stage good things for the camera to try to improve their image, because they can't show honest things. A lot of those officers tried to insinuate Like when Jared Hahn, after committing multiple crimes against me, several of them felonies, wanted to ask me what size shoe I wear. What was he trying to insinuate to my viewers? He knew it was recorded. Was he trying to insinuate to my viewers? That he's a nice guy who would get me a pair of shoes even after all I've said. No, he never brought shoes. He didn't care about any fucking shoes. He didn't care about my feet. What he cared about was image. Dummy. The reason I say dummy is because of his lack of follow-through. Just like all of these people. You say opinion doesn't matter. No, people will allow you to get murdered over other people's opinions. All of these supposed friends of mine put me into a situation where I was going to get killed. And most of them knew full well. Miss Peaches, there's no way that she was not realizing and clicking at that moment, as soon as Natalie disappeared and I hit the fucking floor, that this was obviously the same girl that I've been trying to talk to her about since Christmas of the year before. The same situation that she kept on telling me that I just needed to love myself. And also, see, that was just Christmas the year before, Christmas 2016. Right after Christmas 2017 is while I was at Miss Peaches. I was trying to turn in Ken Wilson and Leah Plunkett, and I was also trying to turn in Natalie Bollinger and Tim Beeson, and, well, the people who were able to take advantage of me by didn't have a guardian or a caseworker who would do their job. It's not that I didn't have caseworkers. Tamara did her job. None of them since have. Not even one. Not Jen Beebe, not Kara Heller, nobody. Or certainly not Penny Cooper. You know, it's easy to remember her name because I always think Winnie Cooper. Those of you who know who that is, good morning. Alright, so my window's fine. I look to have a decent amount of gas. My phone is at 5%, and I don't have the ability to do the things I need to do now. I told you this is how it is. You wanted to call me a liar. You wanted to say I was making it up. You wanted to say I wasn't trying. Just like those mandated reporters did jack shit. None of them did their jobs. The doctors in the prison knew that I was right, but they also knew that the rules in prison allow those guards to get away with it. How do you catch an officer antagonizing an inmate when there's no sound? There's no sound on those recordings. People say I need to just let it go. You know, when I accused Scott DaCosta, and I did this for a reason. You guys want to pretend that I'm a bad person. My reaction to people accused me of killing somebody. When I blamed him for killing her, said that it was his fault. Well, it's not his fault. It's his deputy's fault, in part. It's her family's fault, in part. It's the cops in Virginia and the cops in Colorado's fault as well, in part. Natalie and I were both trying to get help. Obviously, by multiple people's admissions in the Natalie situation. Yes, they were doing these things to me, but they weren't telling Natalie. Why was it that Natalie was treating me like a liar? Because these people who are committing crimes against me over her lies, well, they're not going and telling her the lies. They're wanting to get vengeance against this terrible monster. Well, if they'd have just left me the fuck alone, there would have never been a goddamn issue. So a lot of people get to eat their words. Unfortunately, this stuff all takes time, and it is not fucking easy to get done. The situation here at Starbucks, obviously, I won't be able to, if I need to make a phone call, abandon my stuff inside, make a phone call. If I have an anxiety attack and I got to come out here and make a video because there's some important details that I found on my computer or I ran into or y'all don't get it. You really don't. When people ask me all these questions, I'm going to make it so that no matter what I do, I'm the bad guy. Like when I was keeping people's names safe, I get treated like I'm making these people up. Even after saying these people's names, people treated me like I was making it up. I had to do it in public. I had to tell y'all where the evidence was at and who to talk to. Now, slander after the fact, these people changing their minds after the fact, that is a criminal act. People telling me it's not illegal for the cops to lie, it absolutely is. In their professional capacity, there are certain situations where they are allowed to lie, and those situations did not happen to me. Entrapment is the charge when you're an officer. One of them. Between looking at all of the evidence and those officers who spoke and were dishonest, that evidence, well, because it was a murder trial, they got some splaining to do. Why is it that what they told in that interview does not match up with the evidence collected from me in the murder investigation? Why is that? Why is it that it did not reflect the fact that I was being threatened and harassed and assaulted by people such as Tim Beeson? That they were aware of it, that I went out of my way to keep in contact with them and let them know what was going on. There's a lot of stuff that they did not let the public know for obvious reasons. They also tried to gag order me. No, absolutely not. I am the victim. I'm going to speak up. Unfortunately, because I didn't have an advocate, I had no actual help. I had people telling me what to do. I had people making decisions for me and going out of their way to forget selectively certain things because there's certain things they wanted me to do. They wanted to throw things in my face later on. I should have done this and I should have done that. All of these people, I need to do what they want. And all these people say, Sean, it's either do what you want or blah, blah, blah. No, I want you to do your fucking job. For me, it's either do what you want or you're not going to do anything. I need to just forget about it. I just need to move on. No, that is not okay. It is not okay to make a disabled victim a fucking refugee. Goddamn skag-ass fucking cunt-rag bitches. That includes Peterson and Rogers. Now, that was a murder investigation. They can't destroy any of that evidence. It's against the law. So if they did, there's a lot more charges that need to be brought up. Yes, I do wholeheartedly and fully intend on suing the living shit out of these people. But I don't have the ability to do so, and they know it. That's why their standing joke, when they commit felonies against you, the standing joke is, Well, you can get a lawyer when you get out. These officers all have things at their disposal that they can do in these situations, and they won't. It's unfortunate that video recordings don't record body language. It's unfortunate that the cameras in hospitals and prisons and jails don't record the audio. If you tell the right lie, people will look away. People will assume your guilt, and even police will go vigilante without looking at any evidence. They'll go out of their way after committing those crimes to make sure that that evidence is never allowed in court. They're trying to help the victims to be. Those people weren't unsafe from me. I was unsafe from them and their cronies and the things that they continued to play. Those head games where they pretended, Danica Garner and Rochelle Shelley Campbell, where they pretended like they were going to help me, like they pretended to care about the truth, and none of them looked. They went out of their way to assist my predators in destroying evidence and preventing evidence from being shown in court. That's why someone needed to be there. That's why I needed an advocate. Someone needed to be there for me to turn in these crimes, or they would not be taken seriously. That person needed to look at the evidence